Guys, I am so excited for today's video. It's going to be awesome. I have the biggest miniature I have ever seen by a long shot. It is massive. It is huge. It is crazy. It is cool. So I'm going to be showing that off. I got some good IP news. We got a God of War update, guys. Miniature game. That's right. We're going to be talking about a whole bunch of stuff. Some stuff live right now, of course. A whole lot of indie shoutouts, some pledge manager announcements, so on and so forth. There's a lot, so stay tuned because we got a good one today. All right, so starting things out, we have Ravaged Star tabletop miniature wargames by miniwargaming.com, and this time it is a full-on game. It's not just the miniature line; they have all of that plus 2 new factions. They have space bugs, and they also have space dwarves. So it's kind of the 2 things they've added. They have the best miniature I've ever seen ever. Not really, but I do like him. This guy right here, maybe because his eyes are like that. It reminds me kind of like a pug, but like a beetle pug, I guess, that's trying to kill you. Super cool. Dig that. This is doing fairly well. It's at 697 backers, 375,000 raised. That's a lot raised, especially from so few backers. You can definitely spend some money on it. And it's only here for a week. So it's just kind of a short kind of drop in the bucket. Bam, it's going to be here. And then it's gone, though you'll be able to late pledge, I'm sure, as well. But if you back during, you do get some free stuff. So definitely, if you're interested, now's the time to look at it. The miniatures, again, a lot of them are already done. They do really good. E-Star actually makes them, and they're all pre-assembled and stuff like that. But now they have a whole like tabletop skirmish war game that you can play as well. And they have Let's Play videos already about that. They already have some battle reps. So very cool to see that. They do have a lot of information here. And in fact, they've been trying to do that. So they added 4 FAQs. There's actually several FAQs, but they added 4 big ones that they want you to kind of read. However, I can click the picture, but it doesn't actually send me anywhere. But you can just click the FAQ and see them. So that's no big deal there. The one thing I would say to kind of critique this a little bit, it's great, by the way. I'm glad that they have the gameplay here. I think they could have showed off the gameplay better, especially with some moving GIFs or something like that, as opposed to just like funny art. It's easy to lose a little paragraph here and there on such a big scroll. But the big thing really, and then they show off the new stuff, like they do good there. But if we go to rewards, the rewards are a whole lot. As you can see, there are way too many options here. At some point, you just need to have people pick what they want, right? And that's kind of the rough time that people are having. You can even see here how spread out everything is. 44, 14, 141, 44, 53, 55 times. These are all the amount of people who have pledged. 35, 76, 70, 38, 26, 88, 36, 69, 84, there's a ton, 63, and 130. So this is the most popular one, and it's literally the all-in. It's like a little bit under $1,000. It's actually, for what you're getting, that's a ton of minis for sure. Some really big ones, very well detailed, very well designed minis, and now a gameplay to go with it, which is super cool. However, that's I feel too many. I do worry about so many SKUs. I know that can be really hard when it comes to actually delivering. I know they delivered their past one pretty okay, so I think that's good. Obviously, this one's even more, but I know that can hurt profits too, because picking and packing just costs more, and now suddenly everybody's orders are pretty much custom as they get this piece and that piece, and I just know you can get kind of death by SKUs, so hopefully they're doing okay with that. I'm sure they got it all figured out, but that's a lot of pledges. I would much prefer to see far less than that. Like, hey, back this one to get your, one faction, and then back this to get 2 factions, or get all the factions, and then you pick them in the pledge manager, and you have to worry about it with all these different pledge tiers. My goodness. However, if this is interesting to you, feel free to check it out. Of course, this and everything else linked down below. And yeah, this was their last one. It made over 1 million, almost 4,000 backers. So it did very good there, actually. And I'm sure a healthy pledge manager as well. And they actually delivered it. Not something everybody's doing these days. So good to see somebody actually delivering the crowdfunding stuff. Stars of Akarios 1.5 plus new content. This is by Open Owl Studios. 355,000, over 2,000 backers. So doing very good there. It's still 16 days to go. The backing's very interesting here. So if we go to rewards, now again, this is the second time this has been through Kickstarter, so it's like a whole Kickstarter's worth of stuff, plus now new stuff. So it can get kind of inflated when you do that, just kind of inherently, that's typically the case. And you can see here, all in pledge, 370. It's actually the most popular at 185, but the most popular is just kind of like whatever they click on, right? Because you can see right here, 260 people have actually done everything new gameplay. And in fact, that's going to be the kind of the leading thing is new stuff. Here's everything new. In other words, not just the gameplay, just everything new, 694 times. Whereas people just getting the standard pledge, which is most of the last Kickstarter actually, 126. And then of course there's the gameplay pledge of 200, and then the ultimate pledge. And it's just funny that the ultimate pledge and the is less than the everything new all in that they want here for 160. That's definitely the big one, 694 times. Kind of interesting. It means that they're not really getting new people on board. Now, there's people who didn't already back. They're not coming in swarms to get the new stuff. Instead, this is people who already own it, that enjoy it and want more. So it's almost like, obviously, it's good enough to get a whole lot of traction and get people wanting to get it, especially, and not just like sell it. Like they actually want more of what they have. That's super good to see. But it's interesting that it hasn't like super exploded in popularity and other people wanting it who haven't already gotten it. So kind of interesting to see that. However, of course, this is linked down below. Again, still 16 days, so I'll be mentioning it in the future as well. Obviously, if you're not subscribed, you're probably about half the viewers that aren't subscribed. I do try to give you all these early, warnings of games and stuff like that, so you can get the best savings, so you know what's out there, and so you can become a better and more well-informed consumer. So please consider subscribing. It'll definitely help you out. That's the goal of all my videos anyway. Hopefully I can help you out there. Next up, we have Perseverance Castaway Chronicles. This is episode 3 and 4. I previewed this a long time ago. I mean, it's been known for a while that they're doing these last two, and this is the last two, so this kind of puts a capstone on the narrative. This is episode 3 and episode 4. If you didn't know what Perseverance kind of is, it's a Euro game that has some very detailed minis, very premium components and all that. Just a very nice experience to play with. And on top of that, they have like, you can almost think of it as modules. So episode 1 plays a little bit different than episode 2, which plays a little bit different than episode 3 and episode 4. So you're constantly doing new things, and you might even like one over the other or something like that. Very cool to see. One of the coolest things I love about this, first of all, you also get dinosaurs, right? So there's that too. I mean, dinosaurs are always ahead. All right, so the campaign is just really well laid out. So for instance, here it talks about it. Hey, guess what? What ties it all together? Dice placement. However, it shows right here. Episode 1 is base defense and temporary cooperation. Episode 2 is engine building and hex-based expansion. Episode 3 is tableau building, dino placement and exploration. And then episode 4 is battling the ancient shipbuilding, battling the ancients and shipbuilding. So that's super cool to see. But one of the great things I love, and I'm going to go and scroll down now and show it to you. I think it might actually be a bit of a scroll here because it's going to be after everything else that they show. And they go in great detail here. But I really like the fact that they're sharing this. So we got White Pledge now, right? And you got the only on game found, gift for returning backers, fantastic quality and value, excellent track record with no pending campaigns. When was the last time you saw a creator do that? It does not happen very often. That is incredible. In other words, they are running a company that's actually being able to like keep itself going and do well enough and stuff like that. So Mindclash Games here doing the right thing. I really like to see that. That's super awesome. So again, obviously linked down below, 322,000 raised. If you go to the rewards here, you see how much it is. If you just want 3 and 4, in other words, you already have it, boom, 1,000 times. So people who have it love it. $136. If you want the standalone edition, in other words, you just play this, $169. So you get a few more components essentially. If you want all the expansions, it's $327, and then if you want them all like the standalone, then it's $360. So again, just a bit more there. Then for the add-ons, you can get the older stuff, right? So you can kind of look through there. There's a few things. Again, this is like the second. I think it's just the second. I think the first one was episodes 1 and 2 for the campaign. But either way, doing very good. Very cool to see that. Next up, we have Grave Trigger. This is one that kind of caught my eye. The developer reached out, and I was like, oh, this seems actually kind of interesting. And I like to give a shout out to indies as I can. 60 backers 22 days ago, so a long time still to go. 10,000 raised. They're wanting 60,000, so they're very much playing it safe and putting a more realistic goal there than some small one, and then just funding within 12 nanoseconds and then calling it good. What this is it's another skirmish game, kind of like the Ravaged Star kind of thing, or another game that we're going to be showing off in just a moment with that big miniature. And what it is you take a couple minis, so it's very much like a Kill Team or a Code 1 or something like that, a very small scale skirmish game, right? And you have these like fighters that have like this organic parasite that makes like a mech suit in it, and then you're fighting and doing stuff like that. It does some really cool things though that I really like. One of the things it does is like token movement. So you have hidden actions that you're going to do, but you show where you're moving. Like I'm going here. You don't know what I'm going to do, but you know I'm going here. And so you're going in like activation order to do that, and you like go based off of initiative. So sometimes it might be a few of your fast guys and somebody there, or they might do something that takes them longer and it lowers their initiative and they go slower the next turn and stuff like that. So all that kind of stuff is going on, which is super cool. You can interact with objectives and like even like turn them off and stuff like that, which is neat. There's a lot of cool things. One of the cool things I like, first of all, no dice combat. So it's just like I do this move, it does this to you. But additionally, as you get damaged, it kind of reminds me of Trespass Odyssey. You can get like stronger. You can get these buffs. Essentially, this parasite that like gives you these like powers reacts to getting hurt, to damage. So you might get hurt, and then once you get hurt a certain threshold, you now have like this carapace that like shields you more, so you're tougher to actually hurt until the next thing happens. And so you have this kind of like tiered combat system. Seemed pretty darn cool to me. I actually watched them do a Let's Play. Their videos are actually pretty darn cool. And again, it looks unique, and I really dig that. I love the skull face on this guy. Obviously, he looks cool, and you can see use that axe and stuff like that. They're made out of like a PVC resin mix, which is an interesting kind of mix. It looks like it has good quality though, from what I can tell, so that's cool. Good to see that, and they're keeping it pretty like scoped, which I like as well. So they're definitely focused on just getting a quality game out there, which I think is pretty darn cool. So anyway, yeah, feel free to check that out. I mean, if you just get the one starter set, it's 50. It's 115 if you get the two starter set, and that's what you need to do to like really like fight each other, right? Is kind of what you want there. Obviously, skirmish games, the more the merrier. So the Vector pledge at 200, very, very good to see, because that'll actually get you like everything you need to play, which I think is actually pretty nice for a game like this. Super cool. So there's a shout out for them, of course, link down below. Dracula's Curse. I covered this once before. I'm just doing a quick update here. Almost 3,000 backers, still 13 days to go. So I'll mention it again, but probably in about 2 weeks when they're wrapping up to show where they ended up when it comes to stretch goals and stuff like that. Speaking of which, stretch goals, let's go and loop it down here. Obviously, they've been adding a whole lot of new stuff. New Boss Monster Slayer sticker pack. I love stickers. Sure, why not? A new Trap, a Mischievous Merchant, 3 new castle tiles. And then they're working on upgraded cards, so everything is in linen. Quick synopsis for how this plays, if you didn't see my previous video, in which case, again, you should totally subscribe, is essentially, it's kind of like playing Castlevania, where it's like this one versus many, where somebody is like Dracula, and he's like, you're like exploring his castle, and there's like all these traps and monsters and stuff like that, but you can actually become a vampire. You flip over your card, and now suddenly you're going against your former team members and stuff like that, which is very cool. But you're getting new like items and stuff like that. He has all sorts of cool stuff. This is Dracula. He's been collecting stuff for a long time, so you get all these artifacts you can get and stuff. Just looks pretty darn neat, actually. I really like it. I like the style, I like the theme, and they also have a kind of a Cthulhu Curse expansion thing, which looks kind of fun too, where it's like underneath the castle. There's Deep One kind of stuff going on there. Might want to watch out. Next up, Burn the Witch. I covered this a while back. Again, I like to do these little last minute updates. So again, if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and do that. I'm trying to help you out here. 43 hours to go. So kind of last warning here. Again, link down below. Base game, $29. It's a very much a community game, kind of like a werewolf or something like that, Secret Hitler. 5 to 15 players. It looks like it plays a lot of fun though. And what I really like is the whole the save or burn kind of voting system that you can do there. So you essentially are trying to like burn the witch, right? It's kind of what you're trying to do, obviously, as it's saying there. There's no player elimination though. Everyone plays together from start to finish. I do appreciate that. I hate player elimination. And for party games, that can be kind of a bummer. No moderator. I also really appreciate that. I think that's pretty good, because I know some groups, you don't want to like necessarily have just one person do that, and then they don't really get to participate like everybody else. No private missions, no night phases. It's just straightforward and what looks to be a lot of fun. So they have quite a few options here. The art is obviously amazing, which I really, really like. And again, it's like it's like $30. It's like nothing. So that's, I think, the most common one here. So let's see, 75 backers, 306 backers at the 48. And then the retailer pledge, obviously there's only 4 on those. Witchhammer, you can get kind of 100 on those actually. So you can get quite a few different stuff here. They're reprinting a book too, I think is what this is doing. Let's see, what is that? Malleus Malefactum Collector's Edition. Well, whatever that is, I forget what that is, but it looks like a kind of a cool book. Anyway, they have a lot of explanation on this, and again, I've covered it before, so I don't want to spend too much time on it. Looks like a lot of fun. Love the art, love the idea, the theme sounds really good. And so if you're looking for a game like this, if you don't have one yet, $29 base game. easily now you can help support 15 players. Sounds pretty cool. Next up, we have Elegoo, OrangeStorm, Giga. I announced when this was first like, hey, this is a thing. Well, now it's really a thing. 56 days to go, so a long time to go. They are almost at 3 million raised. Very well done on Elegoo's part. They are really rocking it. And it's kind of funny because when they first came out with the Neptune series, or FDM printers, they were known for like the Mars and the Saturn, I think was pretty much all they had at the time, these resin printers. And then they had these like Neptune printers that like nobody had heard of for a while, and they started out kind of dinky, but then they got like really good. And so now they're like full in on FDM and doing actually quite good at it. This prints at about 2.5 to 3.25 feet, you know, kind of all around. So pretty, you know, like it can print big stuff, which is cool. It goes at about 300 millimeters per second. Not the fastest, but still quite fast. But it can be multi-headed, so you can print multiple things at the same time. In other words, multiple copies of it, which is pretty cool. So as you can see, you can print pretty big there, which is very neat. My understanding is it kind of does this heating pretty evenly and pretty well there, so that's pretty cool. They got some really nice stuff going on. There was an issue with when you first joined, they had some improper shipping things, but they've resolved that. They're working on that. There's a update that kind of explains that, so feel free to read that, of course. Anyway, looks pretty cool. I love it. I think it's great that they're doing stuff like that. Look at that. That whole girl can like fit in there. That's crazy. You can print some pretty big stuff. So if you like to pimp out your games, you can definitely do pretty well here. You can build whole accessories to stuff. You can do all sorts of stuff with this. That's really cool. All right. Let's talk about CMON for a little bit here. They are at the Luca Comics and Games. If you've been there, let me know how it is. I've never been there, but CMON seems to go pretty far into it, which is cool. What I'm showing off here isn't the fact that their team is awesome, which, you know, they're thinking that. I already said they were a great team, which is cool. But look at this undead Superman from DCeased over here, looking like Galactus over here. Just huge, right? I mean, like, that is a big miniature. I'm not certain that that's going to be available. I think that's just a demo kind of thing, right? Making it look kind of fun. But, you know, who knows? He doesn't turn big in the story, so it wouldn't really match that at all. But it is pretty cool for sure to see that. More on CMON later, though. All right, next up, Diablo. I didn't even announce this until just now. Diablo, the board game, and Diablo, the role-playing game. The Gates of Hell open 2024. This is by Glass Cannon Unplugged. And they've been doing very, very good recently when it comes to these IP games and actually doing a good job with it and giving them a lot of justice. It says here, dark fantasy, inner struggle, action combat, narrative depth. Now, here's the thing. I am super interested in this as a huge fan of Diablo 2. I don't even know how many hours my wife and I have sunk into Diablo 2. We were big fans there. Weren't so much on Diablo 3. The loot grind just wasn't really hitting it for us there, especially early on. We actually got into like the closed beta of that one. And then, of course, now Diablo 4. We are big fans. I'm a huge fan of ARPGs in general. All the way back, you know, Titan Quest and the Dungeon Siege and all sorts of stuff. I know my ARPGs. I love them. Love them to death. I've yet to see a board game do this properly, and I don't know exactly how it is, because you have a few different things. You have, obviously, very weak normal enemies, but then these elite enemies that can buff them and give you a hassle, and then very strong, intimidating bosses. You also have the loot grind and the loot variability. Now, in a video game, I want really hard, chunky decisions, right? I want to get this boots and these boots, and they give different things, and I have to sit there and really think about which one I think is better. And I could spend 10, 15 minutes trying to decide. I can look online where people have made Excel files and spreadsheets, crunching numbers on what the DPS is, and if you spec into this and do this build and do all that and have this. I love it. I eat that stuff up. Grim Dawn, I don't even know how many hours I got on that. I love it, okay? I don't know if that works for a board game with multiple people. They don't want to sit there while I'm picking out my boots, right? So how do you do that in a board game? I don't know. All I know is that I'm super passionate about this, and I will definitely be contacting them, trying to get as much information as I can. I'll keep you guys informed. I'm pumped for this. Super excited, because if they land this, this could easily be a game of the year for me. Okay, come on. This is something you guys have brought up a few times. This is actually on October 18th, Dev Diary number 3. They're at number 5 now, by the way. I haven't really been sharing too many of these, just because they haven't been a huge amount of, like, I guess, reveals. I mean, they've been showing some of the stuff, like interactable tokens in the latest one, stuff like that. But a lot of you guys had been wondering if there was equipment or items. In the Marvel Zombies, there obviously wasn't, and it was a negative for almost every reviewer I saw on it, and people even talking about it. It just, part of Zombicide that is good is the loot game and searching and getting stuff like that. People didn't even like it in Invader when they made the soldiers and civilians different for that. So to take pretty much items mostly out of it entirely, there was a kind of a small stand-in for Marvel Zombies, rubbed a lot of people in a way that they didn't really like the game quite as much. Now, there's other cool things about it, but that was something that they felt was missing. They do have items here. Now, they said that's not going to be like the big thing. In fact, what they talk about is that you'll find various pieces of equipment spread across the map. So I don't think this is going to be something where you're like, oh, I searched in this room, and I go to the next room, oh, I searched in this room, right? It's probably going to be pre-placed there, and you can go and pick it up and find out what it is, but they're very powerful ones. In fact, not only do they have the normal weapons stats, but then you have these kind of once per turn big action that you can do, or, you know, when attacking or something. Either way, very unique feeling items. I like that. I think that's pretty cool. Now, the item doesn't necessarily match everything from the comic book, but it works. That's fine. DCeased is coming out on November 14th at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So very, very soon. If I click here to be notified on launch, it's going to take me to the Kickstarter where you're going to see exactly how many people have signed up. And obviously, it's pretty good. 12,810. And honestly, this could be higher. I'm surprised it's not, except that they haven't really been pushing the Kickstarter page. Like, I had to scroll all the way down. I reloaded it, like it didn't do a new tab. But I had to scroll all the way down to that update to be able to find the link, right? So it's not like really in your face there. Either way, super pumped. I'm all about it. All right, more on, come on, God of War. That's right. Here are the first miniatures you're going to see of God of War. And it looks great, of course. Of course. We have Atreus, and and then the God of War himself. And super, super cool to see this. I think it's going to be awesome. I don't know how they're going to do, because one of the big things about God of War, and notice they're off the 2019 release of God of War, right? Or that's God of War, the card game, which is based off the renewal, the Norse myth version of God of War, not the old Greek ones, the first 3 numbered games. And they had like the PSP game and a few other things as well. So minus all those. So God of War 2018 is kind of how that's known. And so that's Kratos and Atreus, and it's going to be super cool to see that, I think. But it's very narrative focused, and I don't know how they're going to manage the narrative part of it. It's also fairly exploration focused, right? There's a little bit of a Zelda-esque kind of feel to it. So it'll be interesting to see how all that works. However, they do say they've been working on this game for years. Now, I've shown this off multiple times. I did it the first time in an interview where Eric Lang was asked about the miniature game, and he kind of tongue-in-cheek said, this is back when he worked for CMON. You know, well, hey, it's CMON, like, you know what we do. So is it going to stay as a card game? Well, whatever. And that was in reference to them doing the Bloodborne, because they did Bloodborne card game, and then they did Bloodborne the board game. And so they were thinking, hey, you just did a God of War card game, will it be a board game? And he's like, oh, like, of course it is. Then, of course, in their financial reporting, actually, that's publicly available, I shared that with you guys where they mentioned a God of War there as well. So we knew this was coming, or at least if you watched my channel, you did. Again, if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. The upcoming God of War game is set to hit crowdfunding in mid-2024, with retail set for mid-2025. So it's very cool to see the retail and the KS. Very cool to see that. And if it's mid-2024 to mid-2025, ideally, assuming the normal flow of CMON game works, you will get it around the time it hits retail. So I don't know if you're going to necessarily be getting it early. It depends on what mid is on both of those spectrums, of course. But either way, next year, God of War, the miniature game, you bet I will be there and I'll be covering it. So again, stay tuned for that. It's going to be awesome. Next up, Eldfall Chronicles. Again, another indie shout out here. I actually did an unboxing of that. I'm still working my way through doing a review on this. Obviously, they take some time, and I want to make sure to give it its due diligence. But so I wanted to do this in time of the Pledge Manager, and then they delayed it. So then I postponed my sessions with that, and so now I need to get on it. But either way, Pledge Manager is now open, so feel free. Again, link down in the description below. This is a beautiful game, super cool. They do the Unicool system when it comes to the miniatures, so they're very, very nice miniatures. And it uses the skirmish game as a dungeon crawl. Very cool to see that done. It's not done very often, that's for sure, in this kind of style. So it works really good there. They do have some new add-ons and they do have some changes. One of the new things though is pre-assembled miniatures and actually offering the storage solution for them. In other words, we're not going to give you pre-assembled miniatures and not be able to store them. So they have adjusted the price and changed all that. Go and let them know if you have any issue with that, but they do have that. So if you just want to get like a board game, you can totally do that now. They'll build those minis out and they look great. They also have a sun drop pre-shade all-in kind of style, so you can actually get it, looking really nice right out of the box. And again, a foam tray. It's going to be very nice. Plus they added this Oni guy and this dude here, and looks pretty darn cool. So feel free to check that out. I know they've put a lot of work into it. This is a fun one. This one's kind of cool. This is Dominating Delegate, another indie. I showed this off before. This is actually when I ended up backing. It looks pretty cool. It's pretty much Command and Conquer, or it looks almost a spiritual successor to it, but as a board game. It was great to see. It was a completed game. They're already done. Fantastic. Really appreciate that. This reads, it's funny, people are like, this reads like a robot. But one of the nice things about this is the most news and the fewest words I've seen in an update. Well done. Like, people are commenting on this. It's ridiculous. It's none of the fluff, none of the marketing, none of the, we had a pizza party on Tuesday. It's just, I did this, I worked on this, this happened. You will have all the information in as little time as possible. And it's really cool to see that. I'm not going to go ahead and read it to you here. You can read it on your screen, obviously. Just really impressive to see this kind of like, distilling of the fluff to just leave the core information of what you need. It feels a little robotic. Maybe a little too much, but I understand it. And what's nice about it is it informed me. I know exactly where he's at. I know exactly what he's doing, what he's planning on doing, what he's working on right now without a whole slog of stuff. Actually pretty kind of cool. I kind of dig it. Let me know your thoughts. Is this the kind of update you would like to see? Or would you like to see ones with a little bit more personality and showing off a whole lot of stuff and pictures to accompany it, a pop-up book, or, whatever. I don't know. This is what votes for stuff and whatnot. Love to hear your thoughts on this, because like, for me, I actually kind of like this, and I wouldn't mind seeing this done more often. But I'm just me. I don't necessarily speak for all of you guys, but I love knowing what you guys are into. So let me know. I'd love to hear your comments. Like, seriously, because I'm busy working with other companies on this kind of stuff. And if this is something you want to see, I can totally mention it to them. So let me know. Very, very cool. All right, next up, come on. A Song of Ice and Fire Tactics. Now, what is this Tactics? Don't think like, Final Fantasy Tactics, which would be super freaking cool, but it's not that. The Tactics here is just, it's A Song of Ice and Fire's version of Kill Team, or of Code 1 for Infinity, or of exactly the other game I showed, the Grave Trigger. Essentially, it's, a small, you have war games with all these units, right, that you do, like a Warhammer style thing, right? Or A Song of Ice and Fire, where you have like platoons of units and stuff like that. Tactics is a few guys, like 5 guys on each team, individual people competing against each other, right? So that's what this is, essentially. It's a very small scale stuff. You can use a lot of the minis that you already have for A Song of Ice and Fire, but it plays different. And honestly, a lot of these play a lot more board gamey. Often they have a lot more cards and stuff like that supplied for it. And it's a much smaller space. It's a much smaller scale, right? And that's what they say right here. But that's a big miniature. That's a big miniature. To give you an example, there he is there on the stage, so you can kind of see him compared to that guy sitting down. He's about the size of that man's torso. He's big. A lot of it's wings, right? A lot of dragon minis are big because of the wings. They kind of cheat, and they'll like put the wings as big as possible, right? So for instance, the Joan of Arc dragon. Pretty big dragon. Actually, not the dragon itself, not that much bigger than the one here. This is from Chronicles of Drunagar Apocalypse, one of the horsemen. However, the wings on that one are folded in so you can actually store it in a box. This one obviously never went back in the box because of the gigantic wingspan. So the wingspan is how they make a lot of these guys big. Oh, it's really glued on there, by the way. It's not even glued. It's like epoxy. Anyway, you don't care. Huge mini. Massive mini. Playable. That's right. It says right here, Dragon's Fury, an awe-inspiring, playable dragon diorama. So it's kind of like the Cthulhu one from Death May Die, right? Where you could actually have people on there. And you can actually see it right here. They have 2 of the normal units on there. So if you know how big Song of Ice and Fire minis are, that's them compared to that. They could fit inside of this dragon's mouth alone. Massive. and it's going to be available. It's actually going to be available on the Kickstarter. It's going to be huge and amazing. I believe they said Kickstarter. It's I'll keep you guys updated on how you can get a hold of this, of course. But yeah, it's going to be big. It's funny. Oh yeah, it says right here. Song of Ice and Fire Taz set to come to Kickstarter in 2024. So CMON's going to have God of War mid 2024, and then in 2024, whenever that is, A Song of Ice and Fire Tactics. So yeah, they're going big, that's for sure. Let me know your thoughts on this. Where would you store this? What would you do with this? The Cthulhu one worked kind of nice because you could put it in your front yard, and now it's like a lawn gnome, essentially, or like a gargoyle or something like that. I don't know what you do with this dragon, but I do like it. I do like it. I do kind of want it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Guys, that's it. That's all I had. It's a fun one today. There's a lot of cool stuff available right now. Some cool stuff coming up. I can't wait to cover that in the future for you guys. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I always appreciate it. If I helped you at all in today's video, leave a like on the video. I do appreciate it. Let me know if there's something that I missed, something you'd want to cover, something you want me to look into down in the comments below. I'll be watching for that, and I'll promise you I will look into it. I keep a track of it. I have a little Trello board, and if you mention a game, you're like, hey, can you look into this? Boom, it's on there. I'll look into it. Guys, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day. Take care. Bye, guys.